Where are we going, Pedro?
I'm going up to the grandstand, mate. Past the PA box. Hey, Connor, Brad. Chuck. Big crowd here tonight, mate. Look at the people standing up.
What a view, hey?
What a view. Magnificent.
People used to bring their banners and stick them over the front of the grandstand. Go Cricky or Ronnie Sucks or whatever it was.
And every seat was taken. By 6 o'clock, every seat was taken. And occasionally, we had the trophy events for national titles and stuff up in here, rather than having it at the office, which was pretty special.
So Pedro, front row would have been premium in those days?
Absolutely. In fact, I never ever got to sit in the front row. But I will now. Look at that. Champagne, the glory and the gold.
And Channel 9 Australian Speedway replay. Tonight's attraction is the Osram International Solo Cup. World-class solo action is assured as the Nigel Bucock International Solo Treat, featuring from America Rick Miller and Sean Moran, from Italy Valentino Falanti, from Denmark Tommy Knudsen and Peter Rahn, and from England Kelvin Tatum and Andrew Silver. They compete against the West Coast Stars, which...
Here we are at the grandstand, one of the nicest or best spots to sit to watch the Speedway. Halfway up the staircase, there were 3 or 4 seats. If they were vacant, my wife and I were right onto it. You'd sit on the rail, overlook, and the sprint cars and that would run underneath you. Brilliant spot. We're still at the grandstand. Royal Agricultural Society offices here to my left. Up on the top level of the grandstand was where my wife and I used to stand, and that is a brilliant spot as well. Plenty of room. Shannon's Row, which was Gary Shannon 6pm, PM/FM, used to be on that side, and would have guests from their radio shows up there. But yeah, top spot.
Well, hello and welcome to a special edition of Slightly Sideways. We're here at the Claremont Museum. What a fantastic little place it is. My co-host Pedro, you would know him as the cartoon man from Claremont Speedway. Pedro, would you like to introduce these two lovely ladies to the side of us?
I certainly would. On the end, we have Fiona Crossan, yes. Who is the curator.
That's correct.
Of this little museum. And next to me I have Pip Stokes, who is, what's your title, Pip?
Officially the Public Programs Officer, which is a bit of a mouthful.
The PPO.
Yeah, the PPO.
And these lovely ladies have gone to a lot of trouble to put this exhibition together about Claremont Speedway. And I'm sure they'll tell us about how it all happened and what we're doing here at the time and how long it's on for. And we want as many people as we can to come down and check it out.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's very kind.
Yes,
very nice introduction. I reckon you should start, Fee, because you had the little connection with Brad that got things going.
Yes, well, big shout out to Brad Thompson. Thank you very much. In the years that I've been here at the museum, one of the most popular questions people have when they come in is, do you have anything on the Claremont Speedway? And unfortunately, we have not had an exhibition on the Speedway in the years I've been here. There was one many years ago, but I don't know to the extent of how much it was. So we had a bit of a brainstorm one night. We were sitting in the office. I think we were both absolutely exhausted and wanted to go home, but decided there and then we had to make a decision on the next exhibition. And I don't know how it came up, but it was the Claremont Speedway, which This is the first time I think ever in the years that I've been here, and probably you've been here, we've done an exhibition on something we had absolutely zero background knowledge on.
So you didn't know anything prior to what you were doing of Claremont Speedway, just like maybe the knowledge of it was probably there and it actually happened, but other than that, nothing else.
We certainly didn't know anything, factual or about the history or names of drivers, other than, a couple. You'd never been. I'm
not even from here, so it didn't make any sense to me.
I've grown up around here, so I did used to go to it with my dad and my brothers. And funny, actually, when I texted my family to say this exhibition is on, my brother, the first thing he wrote was, "I can remember the smell." And my other brother remembered the hamburgers and hot dogs. So it sort of, my only memories are, because I was so young, of course,
it's just a baby.
that I was going.
You were there in your nappies.
It was loud. Yeah, thank you, Pedro. Roaring and atmosphere, but I didn't follow it as a sport. So we didn't really have any background knowledge.
And had no idea how to start.
No.
But as I said, my cousin's neighbour happened to be Brad Thompson, and that was the first step. I basically begged my cousin for his number and said, and that's basically how the whole exhibition went.
Wow.
Was stalking everybody we knew that we could find on Facebook or anyone who had any connection. I think that's how we got you.
That's amazing.
It was good fun because we'd find I found a photo, or more than one photo, several photos in your book, Snapshots, which celebrated all the photographers. And there was a photo that I was like, the one as you come in at the entrance, that I was like, we have to use this. And it was by Brad Steele. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm going to find Brad. He's like,
she made this big announcement at the
I'm going to make friends with Brad. So I started Googling and
Lucky Fat Rat.
Found Fat Rat.
Yeah.
And then I was telling everyone, he's called Fat Rat, and I found him and he's on Facebook. And
which I think is how we got into this whole conversation, is why did everyone have a nickname for the Speedway?
Yeah, we love the nicknames.
And it just sort of, that snowballed into this whole discussion about you have to have a nickname to be in any association with Speedway.
I know, maybe yours can be Croissant now.
Yeah, but anyway,
so we realised, we found Fat Rat, and he was very sweet because he is who put us in touch with you, Pedro.
Good old Fat Rat.
And this exhibition really now has a third staff member, and that is Pedro. So poor Pedro gets emails daily from two girls going, help, how do I find this person? I need a photo of this person.
That's all good fun. Loved it. Yeah.
So the process of you get Fat Rat, find Pedro, then what is the game plan? You just try to ask them, can you put your feelers out because we need certain kind of things, but you really don't even know what you actually want or looking for, I'm assuming.
Yeah. We had no idea. The first few people we got in touch with was Kevin Webb from the Classic Speedway Association. And that was huge.
Yeah.
That's really what started the ball rolling, because he went back to his association, and I think in one of their meetings mentioned, he's probably saying, these girls who know nothing about the Speedway are looking for items, and so he was very helpful in rounding up quite a bit. And we also were in touch with Keith Glover for photographs, but which was interesting because he said very much from the beginning, we need to make sure we have the proper copyright for these photos. So he mentioned you on several occasions, and Brad, and so that's how it really started. It wasn't until then that we knew what was out there and what was available. I guess the real kicker was, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a car? And you did some digging online, I think it was, and found this car at the York Motor Museum, and we said, well, can't hurt to ask. So I just picked up the phone and called. And they said, that'd be great. Yeah, come, we'll deliver it for you. So it was really quite amazing.
That is amazing. To consider that this car is considered an iconic part of Claremont.
Yeah.
Charlie West, the Wins Holden, it's just one of you couldn't probably get a more important car to Claremont than this one. It's fantastic.
Look at us. We didn't even know.
Well done.
Beginner's luck. Yeah.
It was interesting because I just, Googling good old internet at random, and when you're trying to find something from the Claremont Speedway, this does come up, and articles about when it first went up there and that. And yeah, the drive to York was a little bit dangerous because we have to, working for local government, you have to drive a car, like not your own car, a town car, thank you. And it was one of those cars that keeps stopping. Like, what do you call it? Like
it's a hybrid.
Oh.
Thank you, Fee. We know so much about cars. Sorry, everyone. And so it kept stopping, and it was freaking us out.
My car is a 2007 Yaris.
Yeah.
There are no bells and whistles. And here I am behind this brand new car that made a beep every time you did something. And it doesn't tell you what, it just beeps. And then it stops. And so that was a bit of a harrowing
At one
trip.
point it just stopped, remember, at the traffic lights. And we didn't know what was, anyway, so it was a bit scary, but we got to York and they were divine. They were very helpful.
There. Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, do you want a bike as well? So it all just sort of worked
Not
out.
just any bike.
Sorry, yes,
Just not.
sorry, chum. No,
It's a Chum Taylor Jap, which again, Jap motorbikes in Speedway were the machine back in the day. So well done to the York Museum. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very appreciative.
That was Brian Johns at the Museum.
very kind.
Thank you, Brian.
And I think when we knew we had a car, we then started saying poor Kevin would come along for a meeting. We're like, Kevin, it'd be great to have someone, some leathers and this, and what about the... He's like, someone in the... When he had Des Harvey's leathers and then Tom McQuaid's boots
and then he said, oh, I have a TQ. And I had to ask, what's a TQ?
What is it? So you found this really quick, like these things happen pretty fast?
Yeah.
You didn't have a big time frame, to put this on?
No, normally when we do exhibitions, it's a good 6 to 9 months to do an exhibition if you want to do it properly, to do the research, to get the graphic artists on board, to get an idea of what you're putting on display, because then you have to write all the labels for the display. So it takes a long time.
Yep.
We had 4 to 6 weeks turnaround on this one. It was very quick.
Right. Okay.
And most of it happened in, I'd say, the last 2 weeks when you came on board. So it really was quite a whirling dervish at the end to get it all done. So a very unusual one for us, but I think it came out all right.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, look, considering the amount of time, and
incredible.
And one of the things is that in a display like this, it's not a huge area for something like this. Not everyone can crack a mention of competitors. You've done a wonderful job picking out certain ones, and it gets back to the photographers about what the photos look like, and you'd like to include this one, and it's been, I suppose, a difficult job. What to use.
And we got really attached to people, which is a bit embarrassing because we're really deep diving, and then we get into this story and something like the story of Sig Schlam just killed us,
Practically in tears on the floor.
So
going, what are we going to do?
We were like, we have to celebrate Sig, and that was then when we contacted the WA Museum because we discovered they had a crown that Sig had been awarded. So it was like, how can we honour Sig,
That's another rare piece. I reckon 95% of the people that come in here have never seen that and wouldn't know about it.
Well, I think it's just been in storage. They have another one from the first year he won it, and that's on permanent display at the WA Museum. But that one was just in storage, so I guess it's the first time it's come out for quite some time.
That's rare.
I mean, a strange thing, to get. And
it is.
But it's cool.
I'd love to find the silver gauntlet, is that what they called it? Which was the next award.
That's right.
But
next exhibition.
No one
People will be out there going, I've got this.
I'm throwing down the gauntlet and we're going to find the gauntlet.
Speaking of TQ, that wonderful TQ that's behind us was George Gregson's car, and I was lucky enough that I know a relative of George's, Michelle Gregson, Marlo Gregson, and she was, the family donated that car to the Classic Speedway Club, and she was thrilled to find out that it's part of this display. So again, you've got a 50s car there that is rare as, and pretty special.
Yeah, I don't know if I could fit in that.
No.
You're not allowed to.
We did have the mayor here the other day because they were taking a photo for the local newspaper, and she wanted him to get in the cars.
And I said, oh, no.
We're like, no, you're not allowed to do that. But I think we just started really finding out more about the individuals, and I mean, we really fell in love with a lot of the speedway drivers, didn't we?
And as you have reminded us on many occasions that once this exhibition is over, perhaps Pip and I need to go through a deprogramming.
Yeah, you do. You need to.
We're using a lot of terms and names that probably aren't usual for us.
No.
Because you've had something hit your life with a bang.
Yeah.
And, you know, on the 10th of April, when this is over, you're going to have a big hole
I know.
in your lives.
I know.
I think I am. I've really become quite attached to it all.
So you started say this small, looking in, and then it went like that very quickly.
Yeah.
And you realise how many people are actually into Speedway.
Yeah.
Families, the things that are out there, people that are willing to help. Did that shock
Very
you?
much.
It's like, because you had, like you say, only 4 to 6 weeks, you're probably thinking, we're not going to get this done.
Yeah.
We're only going to get a few items. It's going to be pretty small. And all of a sudden, bang, everyone goes, here you go. Did that really shock you?
Yeah, we've had exhibitions in the past where we have relied on community members to loan things, but never on a scale like this. And loaning things with such generosity. Right? It's amazing because they genuinely wanted to see these objects out and share them with the rest of the community. And I think that was what really was showing through all of them. And this is the first exhibition we've ever done where 100% of the artifacts and photographs on display are on loan.
And people have kept trying to help us.
We had a car today.
Yeah, for the area you've got, it is perfectly done. And it just shows you that the importance of Speedway hasn't got a home. Like there's a new Speedway down the road, but there's no area to put anything at the moment. So some sort of Hall of Fame or museum is an important thing that I think needs to be thought about very soon. And it just proves that people have a lot of memorabilia and cars and all sorts of stuff that Claremont means so much to us, so many people.
Oh, I think 100%, because also, you know, when they talk about men's sheds and community groups, and, you know, you can't turn on the radio without hearing about mental health and the need for support and that. And it's such a community that if there was a home for that community, everyone we meet, you know, knows someone, and you know, Greg McNeil, a past driver, was here and he was taking a photo of Mick McKeon to send it to him. And what happened today with Kevin Joyce?
Oh, Kevin Joyce's son.
Yeah.
When I was telling him about how Bill Broadwood had his skid kid bike over there and he had a chamois in one hand, and every time they moved he just did a little bit of cleaning. So Kevin Joyce's son threatened to text him and say, I've left smudges on it.
Come down and clean it. But we love that community, that connection. No one's got negativity, you know, towards each other. And you think about it, they were competing against each other. So they've got every reason to be like, oh, that guy, he always beat me. Like even, you know, Greg was telling me the story of this race that sounded like a real Stephen Bradbury moment, that he was coming and Mick, I don't know who it was with, maybe Glenn Taylor, but Mick, Mick have been racing Glenn?
It was Mick and Glenn.
It was Mick and Glenn. Were like so busy fighting each other, they didn't notice Greg coming on, and so they were off, you know, round the corner, doing their thing. And then Greg thought, this is it, I'm going to win, I'm coming down for the win. And he said just as he got to the checkered flags, he felt this zoom, zoom. He was like,
he came third
or fourth. But he still was there texting Mick, you know, not like...
That's right, the community.
I love that.
It might have been rivals on the track many years ago, but we find that, you know, those things, they're never held. No, it's not great. very rare, and it's a great community to be a part of.
Pretty much a big family.
Yeah.
Yes,
And what you're saying about having a place to hold these things, everyone who comes in whips out their phone and
Yes.
shows me all the things in their shed.
Yeah.
So it's out there. It needs to come together in a central location
Yeah.
to be a space for the community.
Yeah, we keep going. Just seen another shed.
Yeah.
You know.
There's another 5 bikes here. And there's 3 TQs over there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And like the beautiful Frank Figliamini rang us today saying, got a car, that was Mike's, you know. So
somewhere to.
there's some amazing things out there.
It is.
You know?
It would blow people's minds what's out there.
Yeah.
And I often get told about families that granddad or uncle or someone was in the Speedway and they unfortunately pass away. And what happened to his stuff? Oh, well, it just got put in the skip.
Yeah.
Or, it makes someone like you and me
Cry.
just, you think how, but people don't associate with what to do, and I think there should be more probably reminders that there are clubs and places where this stuff
And you obviously
go.
need space too, because one of the things that broke our heart is because we were learning something new, it was like learning a new language. We would keep finding out about a driver or a promoter or, someone involved in the Speedway that we'd missed, And we're like, oh my God, how come we don't have so-and-so,
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's
It just
actually
felt impossible.
Yeah.
you would need, and I've said this to so many people who come through, you would need a space the size of the WA Museum just to cover the history of the Speedway, because there's so many years, there's so many riders, there's so many drivers.
Yeah.
You just couldn't do it in a space like this.
No.
literally tens of thousands of drivers. And look, they weren't all national champions or state champions, but they all deserve some
Absolutely.
recognition, don't
Absolutely.
they? And we were just discussing before how many people have come and said, "Oh, Uncle Joe's not on here," and I go, "Well, knock the wall down and make it full of size." And Uncle Joe
Give us
might
a
do
million,
it.
expand the building. Happy to put on
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, thank some sponsors for our show, and also come back with Pip and Fiona and talk a little bit more about the museum down here that you can visit here at Claremont. Well, welcome back to Slightly Sideways. We're here at the Claremont Museum dedicated to Speedway, and what a fantastic display it is, with Pippa and Fiona and our co-host here, the great man Pedro. Now, girls, you got to know some of these people, but a lot of them nicknames first. You were just saying before how you just loved how everyone had a nickname.
Love the nicknames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about some
Flyers,
of the nicknames?
Myers.
Yeah.
Quite achiever. Yeah, we're
Love
obsessed. I'm actually feeling a bit jealous that I don't have a nickname, but that I'm
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
driver.
yeah.
But
No.
I think it's
croissant.
croissant, I guess I'm now the French pastry.
Yeah.
But I think it was really interesting, and the names. I'd love to know some of the stories behind some of the names. Some of them are obvious.
Yeah, like Bunbury Bullet, we were like, yeah, get it. Some of them we would get. And I love the ironic ones, Big Chap. There was one that was...
There's a big chat today.
Yeah.
we're looking at Big Chap today. No, it was another one.
It's not
Anyway.
Big Bad Bert.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stan the Man.
We wanted to know where Fergie is. It because his
Yeah,
hair looked like
Fergie.
Sarah Ferguson? Was that where that came from?
Yeah, Ferguson
Fergie
Donaldson. Yeah, it
Is
was
that
Fergie.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we guessed right. Okay.
A lot of the nicknames for the drivers and riders came from Con. He would do that over the PA.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He invented heaps of these
Cool.
names.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago on Facebook, someone brought up a name, and then it was a list a mile long of Conisms and what he called different ones.
Funny.
Yeah, so it's all part of what the Speedway world was about.
Yeah.
And it's great that two people that have had no idea have, and that's a good part that you recognised as a part
It was
of
fun.
Yeah.
Well, I spent like one afternoon, like just an hour or two, going through your book, the one with all the photographers.
Oh, you're the person that did that. Oh, yeah, I've sold it to you.
And then going through it and writing down every time I found a nickname.
Yes.
And then
She went down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole.
That's we were in the middle of a meeting when this was going on.
I got
distracted.
And Sue, who is the wonderful historian who did a lot of the research for the writing for our text panels, she was across from me in the table, and we just kept looking at it, whose head was in this book.
because I come up with a new one and I'd shout it out.
How about this one? How about this one?
That's brilliant.
Yeah, but it was good because it made, we are also always looking. We are both teachers and we get a lot of families through because we're located in such a great park. And so we are often trying to find a way that an exhibition can connect to different demographics and different ages. And so we are going to use the Pedro cartoons as a colouring in, and so we look at ways that we can do things. And the nicknames seem like an obvious fun one for kids.
So that will be included into the exhibition in the next
couple of days.
Hopefully by next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
We'll have a wall of photos, and you've got to match the nickname with the person.
That's cool. I'll have to see how
So it's
we
going to
go.
be,
I'm
it'll be a
gonna
good test to see if you two pass.
And it's been another good opportunity to, we've tried where someone is represented in other ways to not include them in that necessarily, so that it's a way to bring more of the drivers to the
The
forefront.
nickname was sort of like a cape given to the person by Con and others that, to build them into the superheroes, because the promotion back in the Claremont days was second to none. I mean, we had football, cricket, speedway, and they were equal, and sometimes speedway had a bigger crowd than both football and cricket. So
Wow.
over the summer. So it was in the papers, it was on the radios, every Friday night was speedway night. It was such an iconic era that you just had to go and be part of it.
Daily News had a Daily News, which is long gone in Perth, but it had a lift out with four page lift out
Posters?
on the Friday. I think it was a Thursday. Did it come out on a Thursday or a Friday?
I think
Can't remember. But it was on this week's Speedway. So there were photos and stories. And, so, you get the
You
paper
did get
and
to
you
know
can read
people.
about it. Oh, I'm going to go to that.
Free kids pass.
Yeah, it's just the promotion was superb.
Well, I
Really
like the
was.
early on promotion. You brought us one of these albums, and then about a week later, someone donated one, and it's like a scrapbook with, I guess they're like trading cards or photographs that were handed out to people when they went in the door each week, and you wanted to collect them all and get signatures.
Fill them in and slip them in those little corner, So it goes back a long way that Speedway was a really big part of the town.
Yes, I think so too. I think it was, and I think we had several staff members come down to have lunch with us yesterday and have a look at the exhibition, and they all kind of knew about it as Friday night was Speedway night, and I think one of them had been to it, but seeing the photos, they were like, I didn't realise how big it was, how I mean, there were thousands of people going.
Oh.
It's not like,
We were talking Australia versus England test matches, which is the motorcycles.
We have that in the drawer over there.
four on the track. They'd have 20, 30 odd races. And there'd be a few car races at the end, but people would get there in there, like 30,000 people in the 70s to see that sort of stuff, and big, national titles and big sprint car and sedan racing. It was just a huge event.
Well, they obviously had very passionate fans too, because we loved hearing the story about Ivan Major. I think Never Isley told us that, when Ivan was winning if he won his third world title, that they would coat his bike gold. And that's now in a museum in New Zealand. And that takes some serious passion if you're going to say to the driver you follow, I'm going to make your bike gold if you win again. Stories like that are so cool.
There was a story, a guy called Derek Pillsworth used to go to the Speedway with his brother-in-law, and he used to watch when the sedans stock production cars started in 1967. There was dozens and dozens of them. They were like 50 cars there. And they'd fill the track up for the final feature race. And there was a young guy called Gary Ellerman. And he's still around, Gary. And this Derek Pillsworth used to love watching Gary Ellerman. start way at the back, and Rod Watson and these guys, and they used to go in and out the field, and so he was that impressed with Gary Ellerman. He said to his brother-in-law, "I'm going to buy a speed car and put him in it." So he rang a mate in Sydney and said, "I'm looking for an Offenhauser speed car," which were the biggest, American imports and stuff, and Offenhausers were the motor to buy at the time.
Is that the one that Jeff, the gentleman, Stanton, is in that photo at the front?
He raced an Offenhauser.
Yeah. See, look what I know.
Yeah. So
Deprogramming.
he actually bought an Offenhauser, had the owner come out, fly over with it.
Wow.
They tested it on the track, gave Gary, went up and said, "Do you want to have a drive of this?" Gary said, "Yeah." And put him in, and he drove that for about 3 seasons.
Hilarious.
So that's the
passion. Oh my God.
absolute dedication of, you pick someone out and you say, "Oh, he'd be good in a speed car." Just incredible stuff that you find out when you look into the background stories of
Well, and Con came down the other day and said, about how he would go over to America and the UK and that, and find people who could come back.
Scout out people.
Yeah. And that was fascinating when you heard of people who came here really young. Then one guy went on to be a NASCAR champion. And
Jeff Gordon.
Amazing.
15.
Just amazing. Yeah.
And guys that come over from America that Con had signed up, and you think, "Oh, who's this guy?" And went on to be 10-time Knoxville champions and winning all these big races. And I knew him before he was, known.
Yeah.
And this is all done before phones and that kind of stuff. Like you have to walk down to the phone box, try to get someone on the other side of the world at 3 a.m. your time to get them. Hopefully they're home, especially with solo riders that be riding all over England. It was basically done with a telegram, and that was their handshake. Colin was saying basically they would just agree at the other end, and then they would just see them pay their money. Here's your money, and just trust that they'll come. And he said they all did. There was not many that didn't actually do a deal.
Well, I guess the good news is they didn't have to worry about what side of the car they were driving.
That's true.
Till later.
Isn't it amazing though that America, where you're from, is the mecca of speedway racing, sprint car racing,
and I've only ever been to one race over there.
And it's amazing, isn't it, that you weren't involved even over there?
I didn't have a driver's license till I was 35.
Wow.
I'm nothing.
But you're only 36. You didn't get it last year.
Last year. I'm still my people. But coming from New York, no one drove, so there was no need. So this was a very big learning curve. I knew nothing about cars, so.
But I remember, my grandma didn't drive because my grandpa drove her everywhere. And I think that was something we did look at. I love to look at the female side of every exhibition, as Fee knows. So every time we're doing something, I'm like, why weren't there more streets named after females? Or why, so I had to look at the gasoline gals.
You got to read that when you come down.
That was something I really wanted to know about. What were the women doing? And I found that story fascinating, the ones who were going in their husbands' cars to have a go. But we also soon found out about the flying fade
Taylor.
That was a great story.
The fact that this woman wore pink silk pajamas under her racing uniform, just in case she had to be taken to hospital.
She had to be taken.
I just
that's exactly.
I love that.
And the fact that she came over riding a solo in the 30s.
Well, she beat Sig Schlam in 29, I think.
And then came back in the 50s in a speed car.
Yeah, amazing.
And it's great that people could come down and read and see stories like that they may not have even caught up with before. That's what's good about this. And one item I'd like to raise is the Skid Kids bike that Billy Broadwood and Nev Risley kindly brought down, and it's set up in the corner. And for those not familiar with Skid Kids, they had bicycle racing at Claremont in the 50s, maybe the 40s, but 50s. And first half of the program was cycle racing, and then they brought out the bikes and sidecars. And the speed car started in 46. But Skid Kids, I remember going down there when I finished school got down on the train with my mum, and I'd run down the hill, and we'd get there at 4 o'clock or 4:30, and the skid kids would be on the back straight, and all the kids were up on the fence, and you just wanted to be a skid kid. Oh, I wish I could be a skid kid. And they'd have their races, and they'd all have their dragsters and whatever. Just a really important part. And later, I found out that a lot of drivers that went on to be solo riders, sidecars, any sort of division, even four wheels, started in skid kids, and the list is a mile long of ones that went on.
Yeah, we've had quite a few.
was telling us that the other day that he was a skid kid.
Yeah, so it's surprising how that introduced people into Speedway.
We had a lovely moment, it was a couple of days ago, a gentleman who was a skid kid. He was born and raised in Claremont, loved Speedway. He came in here and saw the footage that you have loaned us of the skid kids, which is playing on the TV over there. And he was practically in tears. He was really moved, going, he was just so excited.
That's what it's about.
Visual evidence of something he had done.
The heart.
It was lovely.
Of the
It was really lovely.
Yeah, that's good.
But he was also saying his bike wasn't as nice as
Well, you better check if that's our lock on it, because that was gone.
Well, of course, we know about Billy and the rag
cleaning
and cleaning it. And,
Well, because Billy was also saying that he went once in an indoor bike race. I don't know if it was the time when he was doing skid kids, but certainly before he was, a champion. It was at the Grove in Cottesloe. It was indoors, and they were getting kids to race in there, in the shopping centre.
Okay. Yeah.
And he said to his great surprise, he kept winning each heat. Well, and then the next one, and he won the whole thing. And that's when he sort of realised, I'm quite good at this stuff.
Once you're a champion, you're
Yeah, I know, right? You win everything.
Back,
Yeah. Well, that was like Charlie West. I was speaking to his wife, Cheryl, and she said he just could win anything. His scramblers and motocross. He went on to different forms, of car and whatever to race in. It's amazing.
Yeah, if you got it, you got it, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And 2 wheels and 4 wheels and TQs in one state.
And a slight deathwitch.
Yeah.
Or sense of needing a big thrill.
Adrenaline junkies for sure.
When I first found out that these bikes don't have brakes, I really had a hard time coming to terms with that. I get it now, but at first I think it was Ken Brown who told me that, and I just looked at him thinking he was nuts.
What?
That isn't not,
Well, and we were actually in the beginning when we saw the plaque of all the people who had passed away doing this sport, as we went on, we realised we couldn't believe there weren't more. In the beginning, it was really heartbreaking, and then we started to learn things, and we were like, oh my gosh.
Especially when you see pictures of the track, it was just simply chicken wire and things like that. There weren't all these major boundaries and divisions that you would have now. I haven't been to Kwinana, but I assume there's all those safety protocols.
Yeah, safety is...
paramount, it's the number one thing. Back then, it was, looked at as...
But, even with these...
Don't have it so much.
Well, nothing did. I mean, safety has evolved, but...
These cars here would know they had a roll bar, as you can see, but most of the guys sat above the roll bar. So when you did find yourself rolling, you'd have to bend down and try and,
Oh, so it would help to be short.
It would. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Great. It's a sport for me. Brilliant.
There was one of the champions at the time. I think he won the 1954 speed car title, Ben Keith. Well, Ben was a very slight guy, skinny, and he went on to be a wonderful supporter of the Speedway. He drove push utes for Alf Barbagallo and different ones that sponsored.
And stayed in the sport.
Stayed in the sport,
Brilliant.
But a lot of people know him for that, but he did win a state speed car title. And one of the stories Ben told me was he was so slight in build, they used to just wear a belt. It was nothing safety. It was just a lap belt.
No harness.
No harness, no head, restraint, nothing. And he rolled over one night and his head hit the fence. He's got the helmet at home with the hole in it. And he slipped.
For the next time.
He slipped. He slipped out through his belt. Because what you were supposed to do is, if you had a chance, you'd hold on to the...
if you had a chance, while you're flying through the air.
Oh my God.
In another 2 seconds. Yeah.
But, you know, so
what, he landed on his head?
Yeah, he hit his head and then he slipped out as the car rolled over. So
oh my God.
You say
maybe
about...
it's good he slipped out if the car was going one way.
Yeah.
Well, he's here, so he's
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's here. Hi, Jim.
Come and see us, Ben.
We'd like to see your helmet. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be down for a look because he's a great supporter of
and his son
sport.
Too.
Yeah,
excellent.
And Chris. Yeah. So
one thing that we're going to do is look at some of the photographs, not just the ones on display here, because we want you to come down and have a look at these ones, but there has been photographers over many years that have taken, you know, some incredible shots down at Claremont Speedway. We want to include them in what we're doing here as well. So we're going to put some of them in right now, and you can have a look to some music, and we'll come back with these lovely ladies and talk a little bit more about the Claremont Speedway Museum here.
There are many people we'd like to thank for this exhibition. First of all, the town of Claremont. We'd also like to thank the York Motor Museum, the Western Australian Museum. We'd like to thank the WA Classic Speedway Association. There are also several individuals we'd like to thank, including Ken Brown, Alan Barton, Tim Evershed, Keith Glover, Brian Johns, Peter Pascoe, Ken Simmons, Kevin Webb. But most of all, we'd like to thank our team, what we lovingly call the Dream Team here at the museum. Aside from Pip and myself, we have the wonderful Dr. Sue Graham-Taylor, who did all the research and text for the panels in the exhibition. We have Jennifer and Emma, who are wonderful staff that do all sorts of things with the setup and the breakdown and just all the little details that go on behind the scenes for an exhibition. So none of us would have happened without their help.